It's Nancy with Garden Scroll, and today we're going to talk about some of the changes in the garden. There's so many, it just does not stay the same very long. I was thinking of some of the changes already that we've had, and one of them is this redbud tree. It was the beautiful redbud color, and now it's all green. The tree behind me, or in front of me, that would be behind my husband who's taking pictures, it now has fruit on it. This is a fruit cocktail tree, so I'm not exactly sure which fruit it is, but it has several. And then right over to the crepe myrtles, which are one of the later ones to leaf out, and it's full now. The cherry tree over here also has little cherries on it. It's still a small tree, but it's already filled out with cherries. So we're going to be talking about some of those changes that are in the garden. This morning, May the 6th, I got some more plants. I took a little bit of inventory. I didn't write it down and decide what I wanted where. I just went down and got some more plants that I like, and I'll try to put those where they need to be. I did try to pick mostly sun plants because I know that where I need plants are mostly on the west side of the garden in the back. And then these little impatiens, I purchased those because I think I'm going to try those this year in my strawberry pot. I've told you I do not know for sure what I want in there. I just have tried several things and they've all been okay, but not really a standout that I just loved. So I'm going to keep trying until I find it there. I'll definitely have to make sure that it's in the shade if I'm going to put these impatiens in there. Which where I have it may be enough in the shade because it's actually under this maple tree right here, which you can barely see it from here, so I'll go over there a little bit where you can see it better. But it's right here, and I'll want to fill it up, and I think it will get enough shade here. I'm going to try it here and see what happens, and if I see it's getting too much sun for the impatiens, I'll go ahead and move it again, but hopefully that will work. So I've got to get busy today and get some more stuff planted, and I'll be glad when it's all planted actually right now because I'm tired. I'm tired not only from working the garden, but from going and doing family things and graduations, birthdays, and just lots of different things. So I'm going to be glad when I actually get to rest a bit if that should happen. Hopefully it will. And I can kind of sit back and just get some vision of what I want to do. But actually it has worked out, just going and getting things that I love when I see them. One way that I do my planting is, well, of course, through just sitting and envisioning what you want there. That's one thing, because you can, when you're a little more relaxed and you sit back away from it and look at it, you can totally get the vision of what you really want there. But for the most part this year, I've just purchased things that I like and just put them where they need to be, or where something needs to be. But one thing what I will do is I will purchase the plants that I like, and then I will set them down like right, this is my spot for putting my new plants most usually before I put them in the ground. This one here I've told you is a Major Wheeler honeysuckle, and I'm going to put that out back where I used to have my trumpet vine, but we've actually got to kill the rest of the trumpet vine out because of course it's trying to come up from the stump. but we'll get that taken care of as soon as possible. We have been having rains, so I'm not complaining about the rains. Unless it was something terribly destructive, I would not complain about rain, because I love the rains. The garden loves the rains. So no problem with that. But what I will do is get the plants that I know I like, or that I know I want. These geraniums, for me, they worked wonderful in that one little, isn't that a beautiful little color? I think that's a mutant color, but it's so pretty. I had to purchase it too. But the vinca, the periwinkle, periwinkle and vinca the same, and then the geraniums did really well for me. Oh, and this is the little double impatient, which will have to be in the shade, but I'll find a spot for that. I love the double impatiens. They look like little roses without thorns. And the other one is purple. I thought I had a little bloom on it so I could show you it, but I guess I don't. But I'll be showing them to you if they do well, which hopefully they will. But these are some of the plants that I learned and been watching to see what will last all summer long. And those were in it: the geraniums, the periwinkle, the coleus. I got several petunias. Mostly these, I think, are mostly the double petunias, but I like them both. The double may be my favorite, but the singles are always nice too. But they do have a tendency to play out and not make it through the heat of our Oklahoma summers. But and so does this beautiful calabachoa. Isn't that pretty? I'll put that somewhere, hopefully in a pot that it'll live in, a coconut liner pot. They love that, with a deep enough coconut liner pot that they can stay moist and yet drain well. That's what they love. And I'll put it somewhere where they get some shade, because they really don't do well in our Oklahoma heat either. When it gets really hot, they fade away. And this Penta is another thing that just kept going and going for me last year, as well, of course, as the vinca or periwinkle. I did get some more of the dichondra or dichandra, simply because I got some more of the Dusty Miller. I love those two together. They honestly, to me, they look like they were made for each other, and they would be lost and lonely without each other. So, but I did get lots of pretty plants, and hopefully I'll get the rest of my pots done. And these I'll put in my strawberry pot, and I'll try to get the rest of them. And these, I really didn't notice that the tobacco plants, I think I had a couple last year. I didn't notice that they did that well or stay, but I read that they do, so I'm trying them again. If they stay through our heat and just keep blooming, I'm sure I'm gonna love them. I have noticed that the hummingbirds love them. They love that shape, and evidently they love their nectar. So I'm going to be doing this today, at least part of the day, and lots more to do. I do want to take you around a little bit and show you the garden, because it's already changing. I think I did a post on the 3rd was the last day, 3rd of May. I think that was the last day, or it may have, it may have been the 5th, but no, that was Sunday. So it probably was the 3rd, and then today is the 6th, and already the garden has changed a great deal. I see that my hydrangea is coming back right here. Roses are beginning to open up their buds. More of the iris are blooming. some pretty Dutch iris over here blooming. I had a couple peonies bloom that hadn't bloomed before. This is one of them. There's one on the other side, and I believe it may be the same type. This pretty little bush clematis is blooming for me today. And I put the little green agastache, or however you say that, agastache, I'm not sure, but it's a pretty little plant. It's also called hummingbird mint, I believe. And then all around it are petunias that are coming up volunteer. And there's another rose that's just a little bit more than a bud, but not quite a full opened up bloom yet. And then here's another one of the little pots where I put the agastache or hummingbird mint in, and it's got little petunias coming up all over. They're actually so thick I'll have to thin these out some. The pretty snowball bush is beginning to wane a little bit, or wan, however you say that, but it's beginning to look a little bit scraggly after our rains, and it's just getting older, moving on into its season where the blooms will be gone. But I've certainly enjoyed them this year. They've looked so pretty for me. This has some color in it, but right now it's not showing any color but green, but it's still pretty. After I finish with my planting from the nurseries, I'll want to get out my seeds and go through them and definitely plant a few seeds. I always want zinnias. I just don't think a garden, especially my garden, would not be complete without zinnias, especially during the late summer and early fall. They just definitely pop. A couple of little angels here on the, there's a butterfly there too, but I wanted to get these pretty white iris because they do really remind me of angels in the garden. So pure and white and beautiful. I've enjoyed this little clematis, or this huge clematis. So pretty. This peony still has not opened up. I don't know if it's just a later bloom peony, or if it maybe just needs some sunshine, because we have been getting rains, which has been wonderful, truly wonderful. This little rose is opening up its pretty orangey blooms. My husband clipped off a red one. These right down here, it's trying to turn back to the old rose, which I do not want it to do. Old roses are fine, but not when you purchased it and bought this pretty orange color, and you want both in your garden. You don't want them all to turn to that old rose color. So I'm trying to save it. I actually did, where he clipped it off, I did go ahead and spray these, and hopefully this part of it will die and the rest of it will live and stay its pretty orange color. Actually, of all the roses that I bought the first time around, I think this is the only one that stayed its true color this long. So the next roses I got were on their own root system, not grafted in, and I'm hoping that will make a difference. This rose right back here is my old rose. It was here when we moved here, and I do like this rose, and I've given starts of it away to some of my family, and they love it. It smells beautiful, and it's just a wonderful rose. But like I said, I want more than just that kind of rose. I want lots of different roses. I see the butterflies are enjoying that catmint this morning too. This old rose, I also have honeysuckle growing all through it, which may be an invasive problem, but so far I actually put this netting up and it holds it up from dropping onto the ground, where it can put a root down, a runner, and keep going. So as long as I can keep it up, I think it'll be okay. I'm not sure. Like I said, I am trying to get rid of some of the more invasive stuff because I just don't have time to keep fighting it. And this poor little peony is going the way of all the earth. It's going away, but even though some of them are nipped and brown, there's still others that are still quite beautiful. The pretty keys of heaven plants are blooming this morning quite a bit, which is really nice. It can get out of hand, but this place was hard for me to get anything to grow there for some reason, and so I thought, well, I'll put that stuff that gets out of hand there and see if it will grow there, and it did. So it's really looking good there, and I love it. And the butterflies love anything that's made up of the tiny little flowers, like this keys of heaven, like the pentas. I'm trying to think of some other ones, like the tall phlox. Anything that has a little, that's made up, its bloom is made up of many little blooms make its bloom. That's what they love. Even the zinnias, what they love about the zinnias is that little top halo around it of little flowers, and they'll go to it every time. I just noticed that the columbine is also blooming this morning. Everything just changes so fast in the garden. Some of the pretty yellow and white irises are still blooming for me. Aren't they gorgeous? This is one of the pots where I want to put something taller in it. I got a perilla, which I get them mixed up with coleus. They look like a coleus to me, but I think I may put it here. It has a bright pink mixed in with a green color, and it's just very pretty, and I think it will do well here and stand out here. Still not sure what I'm going to put in this little pot, but I got enough plants. I think I'll find something to fill it up with too. This little clematis is usually blooming by Mother's Day, and Sunday is Mother's Day, so hopefully it will go ahead and bloom by then. This is another little pot I need to do. There's several little pots up the rest of this fence row that I need to take care of. And here's our rain gauge. I wanted to be sure and get this on here and then go ahead and empty it out. And it's saying, 2 9/10. But I did have 1 and 1.5 already in there that I didn't empty. So what is that? If I take 1 away from it, I'd have 2 9/10, and then if I take 5/10 away, I'd have 4/10. So 2 4/10 is what we got the last couple of days, so that's very good. This little rose is blooming this morning. I wanted to put a purple salvia in this pot, and I did not find one, so I'm not sure if I'll try to go ahead and put something else in it or if I'll wait till I find a purple salvia. I had a purple salvia and a kind of a reddish purple coleus in here last year, and they just played so wonderfully off of each other that I was hoping to kind of do that again, but I may not get to this year. My pretty spike is looking good in the sunlight this morning. And I hope this will just do really well all season too. I love this color of the petunia. I had one last year too, over on the other side of the garden last year. So we'll see how it will do in this pot. It did really well for me last year in a regular pot up until the very last part of summer, and then it did go ahead and fizzle out. This is one of my favorite color, Calabachoa, the white and yellow. It just shines. So I'm hoping that both of these little Calabachoas will do well and just fill out that whole pot and look great, and hopefully these little double petunias will too. And I'm going to clip these back because I think they'll put on some fresh ones if I do. In this little pot I did put a Calabachoa in here, and then I put with it, instead of another Calabachoa, I put the lantana in there because I'm quite sure it will do well. If it doesn't, it'll surprise me, because they did well all season last year. And of course I have the spike in here too, which is also catching the sunlight this morning and just looking very pretty. I will want to do this little pot today. This Dusty Miller that's in here actually came back from last year, so that's always a bonus. And then I'll want to fill the rest of it out. Maybe some pretty pastels in this one, like purples and blues and pinks. And I just noticed that I have a bloom on my dark clematis. This is a favorite for me. I noticed my little weeping willow has got less yellow on it, and it's going back to its pretty green color. So it looks healthier, and I'm very happy about that. Our rains were so wonderful. They came right as I was planting and after I planted. So even some of this little scraggly looking stuff that I had kept in the glass in the window is looking really good. I will have to clip some of this older stuff off of it, but it's going to make it, I believe. And so once it gets going good, I'm pretty sure it's got its little root going now. So once it gets the root going and stands back up, and I get the old stuff clipped off, you won't be able to tell it from the ones that I purchased at nurseries this year. But I have been out here planting when it's been so hot that they just withered away and didn't really make it at all. But they are just doing so good right now. I've got to come out and figure out, I want to put this over in the shade a little more. It's actually in the shade there too. I might end up leaving it there, but I don't think that shade will last all day, and I want to put some shade loving plants there. I'll have to make that determination. I'm not sure right now. I did notice there were little ants in this pot. I'm going to have to get out here and sprinkle down some granules to kill ants. And then I've got to do some of the liquid edging around the fences. I've got just around my border in the front. And just so many things. There's always something to do. I never can get caught up, and I've just been feeling tired and stressed. But what I need to do is just come out and sit down and look around and just relax with it a little bit. There's some more of the pretty single roses opening up. I'll want to give my little pot girl some hair, something probably yellow, make her a Goldilocks. Some pretty peonies. I believe that I did manage to get this all in white this time, so it should be a pretty white and green container arrangement, and I think I'm going to really like that. I liked it last year, but I did have so many other colors growing up all around it, and they were taller and leaning over in it, that it really took away from the green and white theme, but it was still very pretty. And there's that pretty verbascum. I really like it. I still have not got back to my job over there, but I will. I actually thought I would wait until the ground dries up just a little bit. Oh look, that clematis that I have over there, I'm going to have to go over there and show you. It's opened up, so now I know what color it is. I'm glad I didn't miss that. Oh, it's a pretty little kind of double blue. That's very pretty. So hopefully I'll be able to clear out all this other stuff without destroying that pretty little clematis. And I think I can. And the columbine is still looking good over here on this side. We did have the boys out Saturday, but only for a little while. Oh my goodness, boys are rowdy. They wanted to water, and so they had to change batteries again. So I was saying, those boys, they were so busy. They had to water stuff, even though we had just got rain and it was so wet that it was almost too muddy to be back here. And then they also had to throw the watering can each time it was empty, and they wanted to keep refilling it, which we did not do. But also, those boys gave me the best compliments of anybody. They're so wonderful. I just love those boys. One of them told me that my garden was prettier than the Myriad gardens that he went to see when they were at school on a field trip. So what more could I say or want than that? So we did. I totally enjoyed the boys. We went to an old home place where I grew up, where I pumped water daily for baths and to wash dishes and just everything else that we did. So it was a fun day, a really fun day, and I enjoyed having them a lot. This is an Insomnia. I'm not exactly sure how you say it. The Arkansas Insomnia. And I see another little peony opening up here. It'll all be open soon. And I may have already shown you this one. It's up this little obelisk with the pretty clematis on it. See another beautiful single rose right here. Wanted to get that on here for you. And then there's this, of course, which is trumpet vine coming up all over the place. There's another one right there. So I have to get out here and see what I can do about finding all those and putting something on them. I see another one right over here. So I will want to get rid of all of this stuff that I can, and hopefully all of it, period, so that we can start the Major Wheeler honeysuckle vine on this. I know it looks terrible right now, this old umbrella trellis, but it does make a wonderful trellis for the garden. Once it gets covered with a pretty plant, it's just very pretty. But I do have that of course I do have that trumpet vine trying to come back from the stem there. So it's all got to be killed out before we can get our honeysuckle. So I think that gets you around the garden pretty fair to get you up to date with what's going on in the garden. Oh, as I say that, I do see these pretty little double clematis back here too. I wanted to get them on there for you. But then I've got to get busy and see what else I can get done today. Oh, and one of the boys said, I wish you would not have had that glued down because I would have took that little gecko home with me. See, all the candy tuft blooms are gone for the season, and I will need to get out here and trim this back too so it'll bloom good for me again next year. I don't think I finished telling you my technique to planting. I did say that I pick out what I like, the colors and the plants I like, or the plants I know do well, but then I group them in shade or sun-loving plants. And then I just pick out the pot I'm going to fill and see how big it is, see how many plants it needs in it. And then you can go with the thriller, filler, and spiller, or just however you like, just what fills up your pot and makes it look pretty. Just lay them around it or set them up there where you can see what they're going to look like. And I use either matching or contrasting or just anything that goes well together and get it how I like it, or just depending on how tired I am. Sometimes it may not be that I like it all that well, but sometimes those ones you just put together spur of the moment can actually turn out to be prettier than the ones you spend a lot of time and thought on. It kind of just depends on the weather when you plant it. And our Oklahoma weather is so different from day to day that it's hard to be able to tell in advance. So you just kind of have to go with what you've got at the moment and hope for the best. But usually something's going to turn out beautiful for you. These are the pretty red amaryllis blooms. Oh, there's a new iris back there too. And poppies are opening up. I saw there's some of those red roses there. I'm going to have to spray that some more because I do not want it to turn back to that old rose color. I want it to stay this beautiful orange. Because I have the old roses right down here. And I want to keep the orange ones also. So I did do some more pots. This is that perilla I was telling you I thought I would put in this one. And it has that pretty pink, bright pink, so I just went ahead and put this periwinkle beside it with that pretty bright pink in it also. And then because I love that bright pink and this chartreuse yellow, I put a little yellow coleus there with it, or chartreuse yellow. And I did this little container and I put some of that chartreuse yellow green in it, and then white and blue are the other colors I chose for this little container garden. And I'll just go right up to this small one here. Which I've got a double petunia, a verbena in pink, and then the pink with the chartreuse color right here also. When that fills out, I think it's going to be pretty. Even though they look scraggly right now, they won't stay that way. This little pot, I did it, and I think mostly blue and that pretty pale powder blue. The iris and the false indigo baptisia looking good this morning. And this, I didn't find my purple salvia like I had in last year, but I did find that I had purchased already this pretty little purplish tobacco plant, and I think that's going to work just as well in here. I did put the Daishandra with the silver false Daishandra with the Dusty Miller, and then a little double petunia in that pretty purple color, and then also a little, this is the kind, it's either similar or it is the kind of celosia that I had in it last year that just really played off of that purple salvia that I had in there, and I think it'll still play off just as pretty on this pretty purple tobacco plant that you can't really see that much of right now. Oh, there you go, there's one. And this little pot looks terribly scraggly, but it does have a little piece of that perilla in there, and then these tiny little seedlings that are coming back from last year, and those I believe are some type of verbena, and I can't remember what color I had in here last year, but there's 3 of them, which when they grow up I think it'll fill out that pot and be very pretty. I also did this little pot, and I did use the purples and blues and pinks, so hopefully this one, this is a blue Victorian salvia right there, another one of the pretty mauve pink tobacco plant, and this one just fell off, but let me go ahead and clip, I'm going to go ahead and clip this totally back because so it'll bloom again. Then I have a pink verbena right here, and so I think that one's going to be pretty too. I also put these little starts of Dusty Miller in here, and I don't know if they will root or not, but I hope they will because it gives it a prettier, softer look when it's got some of the Dusty Miller along the bottom part of the container also. I also did this little pot, and I put Shasta daisies on either side of her, And then I put red and white mostly in this. I put the tobacco plant, that's a vinca or periwinkle there. This little volunteer fluffy thing right here is a deal plant, and the butterflies and the butterfly caterpillars will come and eat that all up from me, which will be fine because then I'll have pretty butterflies flitting around in the garden. I put this little this is a little coleus right here, and then right beside it there is the red dianthus, because I just love those in the spring. And this is an annual, but lots of times it will come back for me. I had several come back, and they're just such a spring welcomer. Then this, of course, is a penta, and the tobacco plant that I was telling you about. So hopefully all or most of these should last all summer long. The little dianthus, of course, the pretty bloom will go away, but the green will stay, and it will bloom again most likely this fall, and hopefully it will last through the winter and bloom again next spring. So I have a lot to do today also. There's still several pots that I need to get filled out. I've got most of the ones in the middle of the garden and on the sides of the garden, but toward the back of the garden there's several that I want to do, and I'll probably wait and show you those when I get them done. Actually, I might walk over there, but this little pot right here is one of them. It has some volunteer larkspur in it, but I do want, actually I like purple and orange in this little pot. I found a pretty purple vinca I want, or periwinkle, and I'm not sure what the orange thing I want in here. I used heliotrope and the orange calabachoa, and it's beautiful, but the heliotrope doesn't really bloom and look good until late fall, and by that time the calabachoa is usually not looking so good, or else already totally gone in this kind of a pot. So I'm going to change that up, the plants, but hopefully not change the color scheme. This is another little pot I need to fix up. It's got the dianthus, and this is some of it that did come back for me from last year. I will probably want to put some verbena or petunias around this too, for the outside edge of this little grass in this pot. And this is the little pot that I had the strawberry blonde marigolds in last year. I'm not sure if I'm going to try to put those back in. I did save some seed, and I don't know if they'll be true to what it was last year, and I may just put a different plant in here, but that's one of the ones I want to figure out and do today. And then there's just several back there in the back, and over here on this side, several little pots that I'll want to figure out. So I'll try to do that today, and then get back with you later. Maybe not today, but soon. Oh, and I didn't show you my strawberry pot with the impatiens in it. So I think I'm going to like it. I'm hoping it will do fine, although I have a tendency to have trouble with snails and roly-polies when it comes to impatiens. That little watery stem is something they absolutely love. But it's set up and ready to go, so hopefully it will do well. I think I would like to get one more of the white impatiens to put in the top, and I went around to the front so you can't see the back part of the top, but I ran out of the white impatiens, and it just has the purple and salmon, kind of a salmon pinkish orange color in it, but I'll try to find another white one to go in there with it too.